We are already in war with Russia. They are destroying our undersea cables. They are blowing up industries. They're trying to assassinate people. They want to destroy our logistical hubs. They have been disturbing the GPS signals in Eastern Europe for 2 years. They send drones over our airfields. We are a low-intensity conflict with Russia already. If we don't get involved right now, the war will come to the other countries. We have the option right now to fight the war in Ukraine and crush the Russian military so that we don't have to fight them again in a few years. It's not an option to say, but that doesn't affect me. It already affects you. Your government, no matter what country you are in Europe, is already spending 3 times as much on their military as before the war. It affects you economically already. And if we let Russia get away with this and build up their military, we also have to put 10 times more into the military for centuries to come. That will affect you a lot, no matter where you live in Europe. We put money into Ukraine, so they fight Russia and destroyed the Russian military, so they have to crawl out of Ukraine like they did with Afghanistan, 1989. Then we can have a peace.
Hello and welcome to Talking Ukraine in English podcast. We've had a bit of a break since August, summer holiday, but now end of September, getting back into hopefully doing a couple of these a month. And today we have Jonas as our guest. Jonas was recommended to me by a colleague named Peter Chernyshov and Peter Tylyuk. Both of whom were involved in helping me launch my Maidan documentary, Freedom or Death, and getting it made. So I trust their judgment, and Jonas is from Sweden, and he's been delivering supplies and volunteering in Ukraine for some time, and driving to the front lines and interacting with soldiers. So I'd like to get into what motivates you, Jonas, to do that, and some of your experiences and takeaways. I know you were just there recently in August, but maybe you can get into a little of your backstory. Maybe what's your background and how you became interested in Ukraine to begin with. How did you get, involved?
Yes, thank you for having me. I had no connection whatsoever to Ukraine, not in present history, before the full-scale invasion started in 2022. I only had one friend that was from Ukraine, but I've never really thought about going here. Once the invasion started, it was very difficult not to do anything. It's very rare that you have a conflict that is as black and white as this is, that you can choose a side without choosing the wrong one in the end. You have one country completely innocent getting invaded and destroyed by another country. So it didn't take many hours after watching CNN and the news. I was on vacation when it started, so I wasn't at home. So I had to watch the news for 10 days before I could do anything. But it didn't take long before the feeling I have to do something. I have been part-time active in the military for almost over 20 years in Sweden. And the enemy that we were trained to fight was the Russians. And it was always a question of when, not if, the war would come in my military days. So it was the war that I've been waiting for that is now here. The difference is it was not in Sweden, but it was in Europe. I really felt that I had to help somehow. All through my childhood and growing up, you read books and watched movies about the Second World War and how people lived through the war and how Very few people actually did something from the countries outside the directly affected countries.
Mhm.
And it's always been something in the back of my head. How would I react, and what would I do if I was a Norwegian during the invasion in 1940s, 41? How would I react? Would I be fighting the German soldiers, or would I just accept it? And now I know what's what I would be doing. I would definitely do something to help the situation and take a risk, something that most people are not willing to do. It's nice to actually be able to help people that are in real need and feel that you're doing something good. The help that I'm giving is actually directly saving Ukrainian soldiers' lives. And that means that I'm also helping to protect Ukrainian civilians. So the question of doing something or not doing something, that's never really been an issue or something I've thought about. It's only what I can do that is most effective to help in this matter.
Did you have conversations with your friends or colleagues also, who grew up in a similar environment as you in Sweden? Maybe did they have similar feelings, and did they activate in the same way you did, or like did they just react and say that was bad? I mean, I imagine not that many people actually got up and got in their car and like went to Ukraine.
Almost none. No, and that's also quite shocking to see the lack of response. Many people supporting with money and donations, but there should be so many more, especially the people who has been working in special forces units for 10, 15 years. They have a huge amount of knowledge and are used to training recruits. And I have not seen any of these down in Ukraine.
Mm.
They are happy living at home with their comfortable lives right now, I guess, and good pay from private companies. So it doesn't really cross their minds that what they were training for is now something that's needed. Of course, it's different if you're sitting at home with a job you can't leave and 3, 4 children at home that you need to support. But still, there are some people going down no matter what and doing what they can. You don't have to go and fight, but your knowledge can save lives.
Getting back to like after the war started, you felt like you had to do something. And
Yeah.
what did you do?
I couldn't get much answers from Sweden. So I realized quite early that I needed to get down and see what way I could contribute the best or the most effective. I still had not ruled out fighting or joining military units, but I just wanted to get down to see and talk to some military and see how the situation was down here. So I got some donations and I bought a car and I filled it with some equipment and I drove down and gave it to a military unit. The first trip was only to Lviv because the military unit accepting or receiving the car did not want me to go any further. This was during the siege of Kiev, so when they tried to block off Kiev. So they did not want me to go any further than Lviv. But that's when I got to know Peter. We stayed in his apartment in Lviv. I got to meet some other soldiers and I realized that helping with equipment and cars is something they need the most right now. They had soldiers back then. They had a lot of volunteers coming that have been fighting from 2014, but it was equipment and tactical equipment that we were lacking. I just continued going back and forth. I also went to the second trip. I also went to the Foreign Legion, the International Legion, and I was visiting the recruitment place and talking to some of the international officers that were there, helping with the recruitment and sorting. Yeah, that made me decide that helping with equipment was my best contribution that I could give. It was very different qualities of the people coming in those days. and most didn't speak English. Not even half had any military experience whatsoever. And that's not how I imagined myself fighting a war with the Russians together with someone that had zero military experience. It made me decide then that my path was to help in the way that I could with equipment, some training, and raising money, most of all, because that's I had a good contact net, and I'm Swedish. We have a lot of money in Sweden, so that's why I felt that that's something that Ukrainian individuals cannot do, but I can.
Yeah, no, that's a good realization because, not everyone, you have a unique contact network and a skill set and background. And, maybe having you be on the front line isn't really the best use of your time and skill, right? So, like, who have you been raising money from? Like, who has been supporting you? And where do you get equipment and how do you get it where it needs to be?
Most of the money comes from individual people in Sweden donating everything from 10 euros to 1,000 euros per month. I have one donation program together with a company that collects money through invoices to companies. So a company that wants to donate can get an invoice and pay it and donate through to medical equipment that way. And they also get a diploma signed by the Ukrainian embassy in ambassador here in Sweden. Every month now, I'm going next trip that I'm going down on is going to be my 54th trip since March
Wow.
2022. I've been there a couple of times by now. I've been to Poland 108 times in 3 years. I never expected that a few years back. Poland would be the country I've been to most of my life. In the beginning, I was only home for a few days every time. Then I got back. The second trip, I went all the way to Poltava, which was a interesting experience because I have an ancestor that was fighting in the Battle of Poltava in 1709, and he was captured by the Russians and spent 14 years in captivity in Russia. I did have a connection to Ukraine, but it's something I've never really reflected over until the second trip. That was a strange realization that I'm standing in Poltava again 300 years later when we're fighting a war with Russia.
No.
So that was an interesting feeling to get. And suddenly I felt that I actually do have a connection with Ukraine. Then the trips just continued. The fourth trip, I was in Kharkiv in the beginning of May. It just continued actually in the end of April, I think, 22. The Russians were 8 kilometers outside the city center, I think, by then. Nowadays, I do approximately one trip per month, and it takes about 2 weeks per trip. So I'm away for 2 weeks and I'm home for 2 weeks. So I can better gather up the money I need to buy the equipment. And it also takes some time to get the equipment that I order. The equipment that I get from Sweden is mostly the medical equipment nowadays through this donation program. They buy it without the VAT, so we get 20% discount thanks to that, because it's a donation program for Ukraine. So I have about 1,200 tourniquets, 600 chest seals, 800 trauma bandage, 500 burn dressings, 30 medical bags, 200 IFAC bags, tactical stretchers, and a lot of small things connected to the medical equipment. And then 10 PVS 14s. And then in Ukraine, I buy the rest through my interpreter down there that helps me both translate during trips, but also she helps me order all the equipment that we buy in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm not down, if a unit contacts me and says, can you help with this generator or this Mavic or this antenna or batteries or whatever, I can send money down to my translator. She orders it on the internet, and within 24 hours, they have it on a Nova Posta. Most of the money I get to my accounts, I send to Ukraine. So we stimulate the economy in Ukraine that way also. And that's just thanks to PayPal. Otherwise, this was not be possible to work like this.
Yeah, and before the war, I think you couldn't use PayPal in Ukraine. I think PayPal
No.
changed the policy like after the war started,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
So she buys the rest of the equipment, and I go down through Poland, and then cross the border. That's where the car that I have with me gets signed over to the military unit or registered in the customs system on the military unit. And then I continue to Kiev, where we load up with the some rest of the equipment that she hasn't sent out with Nova Posta. If somebody ordered it just a few days before, then I take it with me. And we drive out to the different front lines: Sumy, Kharkiv, Kupiansk, Izium, Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Pokrovsk, down to Pokrovske, Zaporizhzhia, Dnipro.
Wow.
And then I visit about 30 to 35 units each trip.
That's amazing.
And I drop off the car to the unit that's needed it most. And then we take the train back to Kiev and then train back to Poland. And then I fly home and then start over again.
Okay, so when you go out there, is it just you and the translator? Do you have like a military escort, or how are you connecting with all these different? How do you know where to go and who to talk to? How do you deal with the logistics of that being, not familiar with Ukraine?
I think I'm more familiar with Ukraine than most Ukrainians by now. Especially, I know the roads better than most Ukrainians because I've been driving everywhere in eastern Ukraine. I drive about 3,000 kilometers each trip. Checkpoints, it's not a problem, and it has never really been a problem. In the beginning, I always had a document from the military unit getting the car, showing my name and passport number and showing that this car belongs to the military unit and I'm just driving it to them. So they had a reason to pass through. I don't speak Ukrainian, but checkpoints, ordering food, filling up gas at gas stations, I can do that in Ukrainian.
Yeah.
My translator has not been with me the first 1.5 years, so then I was alone.
Wow.
And she's not with me every trip because she also has a life in Kiev. Even if I don't have her, I get around without a problem. It's that sometimes you talk to units through Google Translate, so you don't get the depth or the prolonged conversations that we can get when I have a translator with me.
Yeah.
But finding the units, finding where to go, just comes natural by now. I always get 1 or 2 new units each trip that the other units have told me, could you help this? This is a friend of mine. They need this. And then you get to know them and then you continue helping them.
Yeah, do
And
they
sorry.
go I just wanted to do they put in like requests like this is what we need, or do you sort of drive around, you're like, here's what I have, take a look, what do you need? Like, how do you decide who gets what?
1 week before each trip, I do get requests all the time, every day, and I try to solve almost everything. I mean, if they ask for 10 of something, maybe I said, no, sorry, you can get 5. If it's very expensive and they ask for 2, and maybe I say, sorry, 1. But most of the time, if they ask for something, they get it. I only help the units that are at the front line right now. So I'm not helping the same unit each trip. Sometimes they are in the rear, reorganizing, getting new troops, training, resting. Because I help a lot of special forces units, and they are not deployed on the same place 365 days a year. They rotate quite a lot. I try to prioritize the units that are at the front lines right now and the front line that are in most need of help. So this is something I do each trip, different analysis and I prioritize different units. About 1 week before I go down each trip, I contact all the units that I talk to, and it's about 50 units right now. And I ask them, I send the list of the medical equipment that I will bring from Sweden, and I ask them, how much do you need of these items? And is there anything else you need? So then they tell me we need 80 20Ks, 40 chest seals, 30 of this, 20 of these, 2 medical bags, 10 stretchers. And I write down everything on the list, and sometimes I take away. They don't get 100, they get 80 or similar to this, but mostly they get everything they ask for. And then they also send me, could you also send or help with this heart monitor or this oxygen machine or something for a stabilization point? And then I order that, so they get it. So about once a month, I send out asking, this is what I have this trip. What do you need from this? But they also send me, and we also need this.
And what is it like when you see those soldiers and you interact with them and you give them these things? I imagine this is like a special moment for you, you know, like have to have this like face-to-face interaction where, this is, this is the handoff, right? Like these are the people that you're helping and you're there in person, right? I mean, that's got to be satisfying or I don't know how it, I mean, do you take some, I'm sure I'm assuming these soldiers don't take it for granted that you're showing up and doing this, right?
Some soldiers do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're there once a month, 3 years, it's like, oh, hi, nice. Here's your thing. Anything happen? Anything new? Nah, same. Okay, take care. Take a picture. Let me know if you need something. You have to understand, I'm meeting like up to 8, 10 units per day.
Oh, well,
Sometimes I'm maximum 20, 30 minutes per unit, and then driving in between. So sometimes I have them lining up, waiting for each other. It's like, yeah, this is your box. This is what's inside it. Here's there. Take a picture. Good. Click. Let me know if you need something else. Next. I try to get 30 minutes per unit, especially if it's a new one or someone I haven't met before. If they speak good English, it's easier to like have a dinner or lunch together, and you hear more of what's happening at the front and these things. But nowadays, I'm meeting so many units, and you also have to understand I spend one night in each location, so it's a lot of meetings, and I also have to eat, drive, sleep in between. So I don't really have that much time for each unit. It feels like very good friends and family because I met them for over 3.5 years, some of them. I always make sure to give them a hug and tell them to be safe, no matter how short the meeting is. And I also take a picture because you never know if it's the last time you see them.
yeah,
And it's happened many times by now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
forgot to mention the most important thing that I'm working on right now, and that's the anti-drone ammunition that I discovered in April this year.
It's ammunition for what kind of weapon? How does it?
It's 5.56 and 5.45 millimeters. So it's NATO ammunition and the AK-74 ammunition. I got some bullets from a special forces unit in end of April when I was down. They showed me that's what they had found, and I got a bag with me and I tried it at the shooting range just to see what kind of spread it was. It's one pointy bullet in the front, and then there are 3 round bullets behind it.
Okay.
It's wrapped up in a thin plastic film. So when it leaves the muscle, it breaks up and spreads out. So you have the first bullet gives you accuracy, and the last 3 ones spread out to give you more spread
Mhm.
to increase the chances of hitting.
Yeah.
And I tried it on the shooting range first to see the spread, and it was pretty good. And it was most of all accurate. And then I tried it shooting down 2 FPV drones with another unit later, 30 and 50 meters. I discovered that I was really good at that also. So I contacted the company making these in Kiev, and since then I've bought more than 41,000 rounds that we have distributed to 45 different units approximately. And by now, there are hundreds of FPV drones that are shot down with this ammunition.
Wow. And they're making it in Kiev, you said. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we're buying a big part of what they're, not a big part, but substantial part of what they're producing.
Yeah.
So it's a huge benefit if soldiers in the front line have this. They can have one magazine with this kind of ammunition, and the rest with the normal. And if an FPV drone comes towards them, they actually have a much better chance of shooting it down. The drones that have been shot down are between 20 and 80 meters away. And they use between 2 and 15 shots. Sometimes only one shot and 40, 50 meters, lucky one. Most of the FPV drones don't explode. They just fall to the ground if you hit the battery, because then the all power disappears. So it just falls to the ground and doesn't explode.
Okay.
So it's extremely important to get this out as fast as possible, and also get the knowledge out, because there's a lot of mistrust to ammunition like this, distrust. So it's that's my most important mission right now.
Okay.
Because for $1.50, you can save a life, or a car, or a house, whatever it's aiming for. So it's extremely cheap way of saving lives, and you're giving the soldiers a feeling that they can actually do something.
Can it be used against those drones that fly into the cities, or it's more for sort of up close front line?
I mean, it's effective up to like 100 meters. So it's if there's something coming towards you, it's effective. If it's something flying by, you might be able to hit it. They're also shooting down Mavics that are 50, 60, 70 meters up. And it's quite easy because they're often standing still. And it only takes one of the 4 bullets to take it down. So it's extremely efficient weapon and cheap. If you compare it to a REB that can do nothing against a fiber optic drone, but it's still $10,000, $15,000, then it's extremely effective. I'm very happy when I found this, because up until then you could do nothing against the fiber optic FPV drones. If you didn't have a shotgun, you were pretty much dead.
Did you shoot a net or something at it? Is that just like
There are shotguns that have ammunition that shoots down lines. So you have like a star pattern flies out, but that's not effective in such long distance.
right?
You have anti-drone ammunition that could be effective up to 80, 100 meters. But then you need an extra weapon and you need the ammunition. And it's not like they're carrying around 100 bullets or shotgun shells. So maybe they have 10, 15 shotgun shells with them. And after 2 drone attacks, that's gone. And in case you're out eight guys, you have 1 shotgun. And if the FPV attacks the guy in the front and the shotgun is in the back, it doesn't really help. That's why this ammunition is so important, that each soldier can protect themselves.
And you said there's some mistrust. I mean, are soldiers embracing it, or is there some mistrust within like the
What do you mean shoot it down? I want to be in cover under the ground instead. But once they try and see that it's possible, they are not as afraid. They understand that it's a pretty good chance that I can actually shoot this down if it's coming towards me. Then you can be much more effective, and instead of hiding, you can be out proactive fighting. And you can protect the vehicle you're riding in. You can protect loading wounded soldiers outside the ambulance.
Aren't drones that shoot? The drones either explode on impact or they can drop things, but there aren't drones that are like flying guns, right?
There are.
There are.
They've been trying them. Last trip, I saw one of the drones that has 8 shotgun shells, 8 shotgun barrels that they can shoot other drones with. So you can chase FPV drones or reconnaissance drones with it and fire one or all of the shots at the same time. Yes, I've also seen bigger FPV drones with like machine guns or shotguns underneath. There was a Russian version that had like a small FPV drone that had a AK-74 or something underneath it. But I mean, the first bullet might go in the right direction, but where do the other go?
Yeah, because it's got a kickback, right?
Exactly.
And what, I mean, it's been a long time you've been doing this. How have you not burned out from doing this? Like, what keeps you going? Because a lot of people are tired of the war. Ukrainians, I mean, in Ukraine are tired of the war. You know, people here in Europe are tired of the war. You know, like it's just become normal. Like I mean, you see what happened in Kiev last night, the other night. Neighborhoods being destroyed. It's not even on the, it's not even on the news anymore. because it's just a regular occurrence now. Like, so what keeps you motivated? I mean, it's almost coming up on 4 years now.
If you've known someone for 3 years, they've been fighting in the front line, and you're meeting them once a month, helping them with the equipment that you know they really, really need. It's not like they can turn to anyone else and get it the day after. It's not possible to just say, okay, I've done this 50 times now, and now I'm going to concentrate on my life. I've helped you enough. Good luck. The war is still continuing. The people I'm helping are still dying, getting wounded. How am I supposed to stop doing this and continue with my life? Impossible to even imagine doing that. If you've been down 2 or 3 times, maybe you can detach and continue with your life. But no, I've been living in a bubble for 3.5 years. That means that almost all the people that I spend time with are helping Ukraine or contributing to my cause or know what I'm doing. That means I don't have to have that discussion that often, luckily. The few times when you do have it, like if you're abroad and you meet someone and they ask what I'm doing and I'm saying, and they say, why are you doing that? I mean, there's no reason to really have a discussion with that person. You can just walk away from them. There are so many people not living in the same bubble as I am, and either you understand or you don't. It's not something you can explain to a person that this is our third world war. If you were living during the Second World War in Europe and you did nothing, would that feel right afterwards?
Well, I think a lot of people in Europe feel it's not their war. It's somewhere over there. And we don't need to get involved because if we get involved, we'll be sucked into the war if we help too much.
But that's the thing. We are already in war with Russia. They are destroying our undersea cables. They are blowing up industries. They're trying to kill, assassinate people. They want to destroy our logistical hubs. They have been disturbing the GPS signals in Eastern Europe for 2 years. They send drones over our airfields. We are in a low intensity conflict with Russia already. And if we don't get involved right now, the war will come to the other countries. We have the option right now to fight the war in Ukraine and crush the Russian military so that we don't have to fight them again in a few years somewhere else. But it's not an option to say, but that doesn't affect me. It already affects you. Your government, no matter what country you are in Europe, is already spending 3 times as much on their military as before the war. It affects you economically already. And if we let Russia get away with this and build up their military, we also have to put 10 times more into the military for centuries to come. That will affect you a lot, no matter where you live in Europe. Take the sacrifice now, this year, for the next 2 years. We put money into Ukraine so they fight Russia and destroyed the Russian military, so they have to crawl out of Ukraine like they did with Afghanistan, 1989. Then we can have a peace for 10 years where we have to spend moderate on our military to meet a weak Russia that might try something again in 10 years. But if we let them get away with this without crushing them first, we need to spend so much more. So it's not only about safety, it's also about economy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think also people do, I mean, the fact that Russia has been trying to destabilize elections and other things through, in Europe and the West, maybe hasn't been appreciated how effective they've been in trying to disrupt different industries and different factions. But people also don't realize that if Russia takes Ukraine, that they're going to occupy Ukraine and take those Ukrainians and force them to fight for Russia further. People
Oh, yeah.
think, oh, Russia will just be happy, but then they will take all that and use it to keep going. I mean, I think people don't realize that.
When the war was going really bad in the spring of 2024 or the winter 23-24. I heard some comments from soldiers joking, but still very upset that why are we doing this? We should just go over to the Russian side and take Europe. That could be done in a week. Why are we sacrificing everything and fighting the Russians? For what? So that was quite scary because it made you think that we are so lucky that the Ukrainians are taking this fight and not just surrendering, because then it would be like the Ukrainians in Donbass and Luhansk who surrendered and now fighting Ukraine.
For Russia.
Yes.
Oh.
And we do not want Ukraine to fight Europe. That's not going to end well, because the sacrifices that Ukraine has taken, no other Western country would never accept. So if we didn't have Ukraine there, they would be in Europe by now.
Do you feel the Swedish government and politicians are sort of aware of this and perceive it the same way you're describing? Maybe the average everyday person doesn't, but the government and the people making decisions, is that something that, because of their history with Russia, that they're sort of activated and
Yes.
yeah.
Quite early in the beginning of the invasion, the politicians were all in on helping Ukraine. We are quite lucky right now that we have a defense minister who's from my military unit, Swedish Marines. So I have direct contact with him during the trips, and he's very well educated and also knows exactly what Ukraine needs, and he's the best person to have there right now. Even if the rest of the politicians doesn't know exactly what's happening, he does, and he can tell them. So, but this guy really knows what he's talking about, and I think a lot of the help that has been sent down is thanks to him. If the cooperation works between politicians and military, then they can do a lot. If you have someone that is oblivious to what military is, then they don't know what they should do.
Do you feel Europe in general will step up and maybe fill the void that the US has left, or are they perceiving the threat and the danger, like Europe as a whole, or at least, the sort of the coalition of the willing, quote unquote?
I would say the Nordic countries, the Baltics, England, France, Germany, yes. The further south you go, maybe not. But I have not heard any complaints if we don't count Orban and Hungary, which I don't count into Europe anymore.
Yeah.
But I've never heard any complaints of anything that's been decided. The support is 100% from the rest of the countries and the politicians and the people through the politicians. So yes, I do think that they understand. I do think that they're trying. I hope that we will be able to do this on our own, since the US has practically given up. We cannot depend on them in any way. As long as they continue helping us with satellites and communications, then that's good. But that's about the only thing we can hope for right now, the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that Europe will be able to contribute. I mean, look at the economies, the European economy and the Russian economy. It's quite a funny way of seeing how small Russia is economy-wise. So if we want to, we can definitely overwhelm them. The problem is some specific bottlenecks that exist in the production of certain things that we can't change it in 1 year. It takes a few years to be able to ramp up productions. And during those years, it's very important that we have South Korea and the US on our side.
Speaking of Russian economy, for a long time, I've been hearing that, the Russian economy is on the brink of collapse, but it sort of hasn't happened. They've been able to maintain this attrition rate of military hardware and soldiers, and they keep having more soldiers. I mean, it's over 1 million casualties now, right? Between
Yeah.
killed and injured. I mean, that's insane. But they're still able to just like keep slowly grinding it out. Like how is it possible? Is it true that because they're still getting money from oil and gas that it's just all being pumped there? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts or how they're able to maintain such a I mean, I don't know. With these kind of numbers, you think that they pulled out of Afghanistan for much less, you know?
Yeah. First of all, look at the losses during Second World War. 25 million, and they still didn't stop. So a human life still nowadays is worth nothing in Russia. Nothing. And when the civilian population also think like this, 1 million losses, we have another 135, and most of the people went down. They didn't really have any bright future anyway, so who cares? Because of the extreme amounts of money compensation that soldiers and family are getting, there's still no protest in Russia. If when I sign up as a Russian soldier, the first year, including the bonus, it's compared to 11 to 18 annual salaries in Russia. So in 1 year, I can make 18 times as if I stayed in my village and I had a job. If I don't have a job, it's 1 million times more. So if I quit my job in my village and I go to Ukraine, if I live, which they mostly don't, I could get 18 times my salary. And if I do die, my family gets $150,000 as a compensation if I'm registered as dead and not missing in action. But that can be arranged by paying off the officers. So everybody is making money on this. So there are no protests. And as long as there are no protests, as long as the money keeps on coming, everybody's happy. The industry in Russia is not, you can't compare it to Germany, Swedish, or American economy because there's only one thing important in the society, and that's making military equipment. So if you put all your effort, I mean, in the US, I don't know, is it 5% that goes to the military of the gross national product?
I think something like that.
Yeah. And the military industry as a whole, because they also export things, so maybe it's like 7%. I'm just guessing numbers now, but if you imagine if they put 50% of the gross national product into the military,
That would
then suddenly there's a lot of money to put in. Yeah, society gets weaker because you don't have doctors, you don't have sanitation, you don't have hospitals are not working, but you can survive like that for a few years. I mean, the building doesn't collapse the first year you don't take care of it.
right. Yeah.
It takes many years before it crumbles because of lack of heat. So if you put your economy into a war economy, you can survive like that for a long time. The problem comes when the war stops and suddenly you realize, oh, all the other industries are gone. So
Yeah.
what are we going to live on now? We just have to continue producing tanks and airplanes and bombs because that's the only thing society can do. What Ukraine is doing now is finally hitting the oil production again, which they started, but US had asked them to stop. This, in 1 month, they took away 17%. It's going to be interesting to see what the total damage was in September. And their missiles and artillery or cruise missiles are just getting bigger and bigger. Now they have a 1,000 kilo cruise missile. Before it was these Cessnas with 100 kilos of explosives maximum. So you can imagine what a 1,000 kilo bomb, what kind of destruction that does when it hits an oil plant. That's not going to be easy to repair in a couple of days. So once they start hitting the arteries, you bleed out pretty quick.
Yeah.
It has not happened yet because it's a huge country. It's not, you can't destroy the infrastructure fast in a country that's so big. And they also have 130 million people still. But once it stops churning, it could go quick.
And I think because it's so huge, Russia doesn't have the ability to defend all these facilities.
Oh, that's a good thing.
That yeah, so Ukraine's
Pretty
taking
obvious the last couple of months.
Ukraine's using its size against it in that respect, where they have all their stuff in Ukraine near the front line, and they don't have the air defense to out there to
Even
cover all this territory.
even if they had the air defense, it doesn't work. So it's pretty obvious. It's good at shooting down civilian airplanes, but not so good at small drones. The way they shoot down most drones is by machine guns and these other anti-aircraft guns, not the missile systems. And of course, they have the same problem that Ukraine have. They don't have unlimited amount of missiles. So even if they did work, they wouldn't be able to shoot down the hundreds coming into the country every other night. But also the main problem is China, India, and Turkey. Turkey is importing what, 40% of the Russian oil that's still being sold?
That much, yeah, yeah.
India, 15 or something, 20. China, about the same, I think. So as long as these countries buy the Russian oil, they still get money.
Right.
If Turkey stopped buying Russian oil, it would cut their income in half. As long as they don't stop, they still get money. And that's the sad part. I've completely lost respect for India these last couple of years when I see how they behave. China, we all knew, likes to play both sides, but you always consider India to be the biggest democracy in the world, but it's not. Democracy is helping protect democracy in the world, and they do not care about that. For me, India is just a slum country right now, run by people just wanting to make money and without caring about whatever happens to other.
What was your takeaway from being in Ukraine on your last trip? Like, what was the morale of soldiers? I don't know. Is there anything that maybe you'd like to share? Any details about like that you're able to share about, I don't know, what things feel like on the front lines from your last trip there?
What we spoke a lot about was a lot of the soldiers told me that they expect the war to last another 3 years. That's not really been outspoken before, but this time there were many people that actually said that they see no positive outcome if the war ends now.
Why in 3 years? What
No, that was mostly an example, but
that it's not ending soon, basically.
yeah, it could continue for as long as it's been going up until now. And it's not unrealistic because the only way to win this is to make the Russian state suffer, and that will need a bit more time. Every time I get the questions, what do you think is going to happen, and what outcome do you see? I see Russia getting weaker all the time. They have more and more difficulties recruiting new soldiers. I read a report from Ukraine intelligence the other day that the last 3 months they only managed to recruit or sign 37 soldiers that signed a contract. And compare that to the 1,000 soldiers per day getting wounded or killed. Then you have a problem, even though you offer them huge amount of money. So I don't see how they will be able to keep it up. And on the other hand, if you look at the Ukrainian position, as long as we continue helping them with money and equipment, their equipment gets better and better.
No.
And I see the curve going up. They also have problems recruiting soldiers,
Yeah.
but they're not doing the same way the Russians are. So for me, the longer the time goes, make Ukraine get into a better position. It's really frustrating to see on the maps how the front constantly moved backwards, but we have to remember that 300 meters of a field is not important. They haven't taken Dnipro. They have not taken any city after Bakhmut, Avdiivka. After that, nothing. So that they are taking a village with 20 houses and they're losing 200 soldiers doing it at the same time, they can't continue doing that for 3 years more.
Pokrovsk is a key one, and I think you commented something about that because if the Russians were able to get Pokrovsk, then if I understand correctly, they have sort of like a undefended open territory beyond that where it would be harder for Ukraine to defend. Is that right?
There are lines in between Dobropilya and Pokrovsk. The terrain is pretty much open, like south of Pokrovsk, yes, but they have to take Pokrovsk, and that's a big city. To take Bakhmut, it took 1 year, and they lost 50,000 dead. I don't see that they would be able to take Pokrovsk
Yeah.
without getting the similar losses
Right.
and the timeline. The situation east of Pokrovsk, up towards or east of Dobropilya, well, we can all see on the map what the situation is. That Russia made a stupid move and moved their frontline troops way too far,
Mhm.
and now they're being cut off. But it's not as clear cut as it is on the map. The situation around this area is extremely confusing.
Yeah.
You have Ukrainian units mixed up with Russian units everywhere. So it's very much like chaos. And who can take advantage of that is the one that is fighting for best cause and has most motivation and best training and best equipment. A Russian that is cut off, I don't think his motivation is that high right now.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Ukrainians that are stuck in between Russians, they see it as good. Now I can shoot in all directions and I will kill Russians. Well, I mean, everything is intermingled right there right now. Ukrainian troops are cut off, Russian troops are cut off without knowing it because they don't know exactly where everyone is. So both sides have a very, very, very difficult situation there.
I mean, it makes me, this whole thing frustrates me is because if like the NATO just like went in with all their forces, they could finish this pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah. But we would have to get help from the Ukrainian forces, so they help us with drone protection because otherwise we wouldn't last that much longer.
Yeah.
If we went out in with all our airplanes, ammunition, um, artillery, just logistics support, then yes, it would be over in 6 months.
Yeah.
But we would also have Third World War officially. But I don't see that Russia would do anything about it because have you seen any test fires or anything by either a ballistic rocket carrying nuclear weapons or exploding a nuclear weapon?
No, because under Biden, they knew that the US would retaliate if they did that. Under Trump, I'm not sure if it's clear cut like that.
But I mean, have you seen any test fires?
No, I mean, I haven't
No,
heard.
exactly. Do we know if they even have something working? If everything is corrupt and you have one part of the military getting, I have no idea, but 50 billion a year, how much of that money do you actually think reaches what it's supposed to go to? And nobody would ever know that it doesn't work until the day you say push the button. So it's not like anybody would say, look, you stole the money. How do you know? So it's, if I was Russia, I would have, just to prove my point, now that it's not going so well, I would do a nuclear test just to scare the world because that would make a lot of peace-loving Europeans start screaming that we have to end the war no matter what. So they haven't done this. I mean, that would not be a nuclear war if they tested something up in North Siberia, but still they haven't done it.
And you don't think they've done it in private because if
No.
they do it, the most benefit for them is to let everyone know about it.
They can't do it in private. I mean, it's detected as soon as it blows off. So 2 or 3 times they tried to fire off one of their ballistic missiles and it's exploded or didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tells me as much as I need to know about their nuclear armaments. And it's not like they have many airplanes right now to carry their cruise missiles and bombs. I mean, they have difficulties finding enough planes to send them into Ukraine right now. So the nuclear triad is very, very bad shape right now, I would say. And we don't know how many of the sailors working on the nuclear submarines that has been sent to Ukraine already. because they're taking people from every. I mean, the first year of the war, we found people working with the nuclear weapons in the front lines
Oh yeah.
that got killed, and
Yeah.
they took the batches. So that's a bit about the priorities.
They needed to put those bodies up there.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully there'll be a breaking point, and it'll be a domino effect where the whole thing just collapses. I mean, that's
I mean, look at the end of the First World War. Nobody thought that it was so bad in Germany like it was. The fronts were holding up. It was the collapse on the back that made it suddenly end.
yeah.
The economy in Germany was so bad. So it doesn't have to be a military victory. It could be the collapse of the economy.
I hope that the U.S. administration will do something to speed that up, but I'm not particularly optimistic.
No. It's up to the rest of the Western world right now, and I have much more faith in the rest of Europe and Canada
Yeah,
to do the right thing. I've completely written off the US.
yeah, me too.
Sorry to say, but
That's
even if the government would change tomorrow, it would take so many years to get something done in the US.
yeah. Well, thankfully there are people like you and others in Europe, hopefully who can take inspiration from your activity and what you do. I mean, it's really amazing that you've, dedicated all your time. I'm sure the people who are working with you are very grateful that people like you exist.
Yeah, and I'm also very grateful to all the people donating so I can do this.
Mm,
I'm getting the equipment I bring down each trip is all more than 100,000 euros per trip.
wow.
So there is a lot of people behind me making sure I can do this work.
And if some,
We should not forget them.
and if someone's listening to this and wants to support you, specifically, how can they do that? Where can they find you or donate?
Could we put a link that you could show?
Yeah,
So that's the easiest way they can go in and support my donations, like PayPal link or something.
yeah, I can put it in the description.
Yes,
Sure.
so we can find it. So they could help donating through PayPal, or if they live in Sweden, they can do Swish. Otherwise, just donate to one of the other organizations doing similar work. Make sure that they deliver directly to frontline units. There are countless people and organizations doing similar work that I'm doing, and you can all support them no matter country you're from.
Well, it's an amazing inspiration to see when people who don't have a direct connection to Ukraine are doing so much. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's important. People step out of their comfort zones and do what's right.
And that's what we expected from the US. Do the right thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, the right thing isn't the priority of this administration. It's do what's good for me.
But thank you for doing what you can to help and spreading the word. Thank you for helping Ukraine.
Thank you.
За свободу свою